The Wests Tigers podcast is brought to you by the Wests Tigers Podcast Forum. Join the conversation today at weststigerspodcast.com.au.
It is the West Tigers podcast, and it's episode number 449, coming up to a very, very big milestone for the midweek edition of the podcast out in a few days. 449 episodes. Unfortunately, about 400 of them have been post-loss editions of the West Tigers podcast. And we've got another one for you. So we're really, really adept at being able to do these. Nick's here and Josh is here. Let's start as per the tradition. One word, please, gentlemen, for the 20 points to 16 loss to South Sydney at Gosford after leading 14-12 at halftime. Nick, what do you got for us?
Probably got a couple, Joel. One will be deja vu because that game sort of ended in the same way that a lot of games have ended over the last few years, where we've been
With a loss?
close enough, but not
Yes.
good enough.
Okay.
Another one I'll throw out is substandard, because for me, one of the things I spoke about during our preseason pods was, for us to be any realistic chance of making the eight this year, we need to learn how to win those close games. I know this is only our second game of the year, but these are the games that we need to win, because these are the ones we end up talking about at the end of the year, that what if. So for me, it's substandard. It's just disappointing.
Okay, what do you got, Josh?
I've got injuries, Joel, and I'm sure we'll get to this in more detail later, but the injuries to both our halves on top of the injuries to both our centres in the last couple of weeks leaves us really thin in the outside back. So the loss was itself, I didn't think we were too bad. I think it was close and we played all right and did a lot of things right and didn't just execute, but those injuries are the thing that really has been with me today. So that's my one word.
I had initially had trouble with one word, and they've come to me the more I've thought about it, and I've ended up with 5. But I can do it. I'm the host,
Just fine.
so and one of them's a double muscle memory. I've got muscle memory there because I think when you look at the opposition that we had, they've got some muscle memory around winning high pressure, tight games. They're a squad that have been together for a long time. Most of them have been at a grand final together. They've got that muscle memory of just finding a way to get across the line at the end. And that's something that maybe we don't quite have at the moment. I've also got opportunities. Opportunities were there, but we just couldn't take them at times. Actually, many, many times. I've got Gray because I thought he was fantastic for South. He was the difference, I think, between the two teams. And I've also got defence, but not so much our defence. Although there were some good attributes of our defence, I thought South's defence was pretty spectacular. That's what won them the game. Defence wins games. Their class won them the game as well, but their defence set them up for that. And the last one I've got is clipboard, and that is that the clipboard nearly went flying across the room with, I think it was 15 minutes to go or something when South scored that try, and we just knew from that moment that it was going to be a loss. I thought, though, we might start, because there's a lot of things that we can discuss about the game, lots of facets. It's a game that had ups and downs and goods and bads and interesting things that happened, but I thought we might just cut through to a little bit of news that's happening or it seems to be coming out, and that's in regards to Adam O'Brien, who could be on his way to the West Tigers as an attacking coach. Now, the story, and it is from the Mole, and sometimes the Mole's on the money and sometimes not, but apparently actually it was Danny Weidler, and the Mole was sharing it along, saying that Adam O'Brien could be out of the Bulldogs, who's only been there for a few months after being sacked by Newcastle last year, could be coming to the West Tigers. The West Tigers, though, not really keen on paying the Bulldogs out for Adam O'Brien. Nick, is this a sign? This is classic West Tigers, isn't it? We had a game where we struggled to score points. We struggled in our red zone. It's kind of like, oh my God, let's do something. Adam O'Brien's an interesting one.
It is. I don't know enough about him in terms of his attacking coaching prowess to say whether that would be a good or bad decision. I know he was head coach at Newcastle for a while there. And
he was the attacking coach at the Roosters when they won the premiership.
Okay, well, that's not bad looking on your resume, I suppose. But, I mean, he didn't do a great deal with the Knights when he was there. So it's a real interesting one. I'd also be curious to know if this story is true, who's asking about his services, because we all know what Benji's like. He likes to have trusted and people that he's close to around him. So I'm not sure if this is from Benji or from someone else within the business.
I don't mind it, Josh, from the point of view that it really is an outsider. I know John Morris played and coached at Cronulla, and yeah, he's not really West Tigers DNA so much, but the rest of the boys, Hodgson and Heinington, and there's been that sort of criticism that Benji's kind of got a bit too much West Tigers DNA in the coaching ranks. I don't mind getting someone from the outside in, but and I know I guess Adam O'Brien would be someone who's probably technically very good. Is I think he may not be the greatest man manager from what I understand, but technically he could be a good addition to the coaching team.
Yeah, an assistant coach is very different to head coach for some of these things. So, as you said, he's been assistant coach at the Roosters and assistant coach at Storm, although the talent of the players obviously helped there too. He didn't do a great deal with the Knights attack, and it's interesting that he's only been at the Dogs for a few months.
Mm,
That's a weird one. Although Gus has a history of
yeah, has a
that kind of
history.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gus just has a history of being Gus. Look, he brings lots of experience. The more quality people we can have around the organization, the better. I do wonder what it means for Brett Hodgson. I hadn't seen that before you mentioned it, Joel. So I do wonder what it means for Brett Hodgson, who's the attacking coach at the moment. So
Mm,
One thing I will throw in is we need to change something. I know it's only round two. We won our first, or round three. We won our first game quite convincingly on the scoreboard. But for me, what I saw against the Rabbitohs on Saturday night was much of what we've seen over the last few years. To me, it just looks like unstructured attack, especially in the red zone. I just don't see. I don't see a great deal of shape. I don't see a great deal of game plan. I don't see many set plays. Um, I know Dewey's re-signed and he's our halfback this year. For me, he looks a bit sluggish still, and I know it's the way he moves. He's tall, he's
mm.
lanky, he's not quick off the block or out of the block. So that worries me a little bit that he looks a bit predictable sometimes when he moves. So I'm worried about that.
Yeah, well, you've cut forward a little bit, Nick, because I sort of had that on the agenda to talk about, and that is speed off the mark. And I think our fullback and Dewey both sort of don't display a whole lot of pace. Like if you look at Jai Gray, he's just bang, and that's not to say that he's, this amazing player that's, streets ahead of what we've got, but there's that difference there. And that was certainly proven at different times. Probably Makasini's really fast when he's up at full speed. We've got a lot of those guys that have a great top speed or a very good top speed, but they don't have that acceleration off the mark. And I think sometimes that helps make us look a little bit sluggish, Josh. Sometimes Dewey, when he's in that halfback role, you think, it's an unconventional halfback. We've spoken about that before. And one thing that's kind of missing from his game is that ability to be able to have that explosive pace.
yeah, speed off the mark is an issue. And as you said that, I was thinking about it. Even our outside backs, there's a reasonable amount of speed, but they're not necessarily. I think Taruva is probably a speed off the mark guy. Like his first 5 meters are quick. Jerome's first 5 meters are quick, but Adam doesn't have that speed off the mark. But he obviously has other qualities. He is probably stronger and has more kind of oomph than a traditional halfback, and that helps in attack and defense. So I think there's benefits there. But you're right, he doesn't. And that's okay, I think, because you can build a game plan around your strengths and and your qualities. But to Nick's point, one of the things that did worry me as well was that piece around last week we looked more structured and more plays, and I think that's why our back rowers kind of got plenty of ball.
Mm,
Um, Jerome put on the one try for Sione last night with some structure, but I felt like KPP and Sione, not Sione, Samuela,
Samuela.
didn't get a heap of ball in good positions, and that felt like structure.
Mm.
The passes as well across the board, it felt like none of them were in front of guys. They were all kind of having to stop and catch, which I think was what made our attack feel very clunky last night. So,
I wonder if
um,
South's really good line speed. Like they came. You can see that team is coached. They came with a plan and they executed the plan mostly quite well, I think. But line speed was definitely something that they excelled in. Nick, sorry to cut you off there.
No, no, you're right. No, I apologize for jumping ahead, and I'm probably going to continue ahead just a little bit. But just thinking about Dewey and his sluggishness off the mark, um, I guess someone like Latu Fonu, I'm not sure when he'll be back. I'm hoping he'll be back next week because we need him. But
Mm.
he is complete opposite to Dewey in
Yeah.
terms of the way he moves anaerobically. So he has that explosive pace off the mark.
Mm.
I'd be very curious to see how he goes if he gets his opportunity, and hopefully that's really soon because we need him.
He is the polar opposite of Dewey because Latu is all about run first and think about passing second. And yeah, I mean, obviously Dewey's got that part of his game, but yeah, very, very different players. Very different players, those two. Other bit of news around Maverick Geyer looks like he will be signing with Perth and Kitley Lilly as well. I don't think anybody's too fussed about losing those two and Luke Lilly to Perth. If fuel wasn't $6 a litre, I'd be happy to do the drive, actually. I know that's not very kind, but
Are we going to relocate? Are we moving to Perth?
no, not as far as I'm aware. Bronson Cherry, Benji came out and said, no, we're not interested in signing Bronson Cherry. I think that's a shame. If Bronson Cherry is unhappy, and even if we get Bronson Cherry for the rest of 2026, Josh, wouldn't you be trying to do that deal in some way, given we are down our two starting centres?
Yeah, we're down our two starting centres. We're now obviously down our two starting halves as well, but we also have two spots available. And that's what's interesting to me. Well, we have two spots available if we're not signing Bronson Cherry. And look, maybe that's just Benji putting people off the scent, because if you are negotiating with a player who's still under contract, well, you probably don't want to come out and say it in a press conference. But if we aren't signing Bronson Cherry and we have all these injuries, what are we doing with our last two spots on the roster? Because we probably do need a bit more depth, especially in that back line. So.
And I mean, Bunty Afoa didn't get a game, and he's obviously on that train and trial deal. Patrick Herbert, I don't know. Yeah, this it doesn't take long for West Tigers fans to start asking questions and wondering, what's going on.
Who's got?
Sometimes it's hard to understand. Let's have a look at the West Tigers podcast forum one-word submissions from the wonderful members there. Teddy S, their word was bipolar, which is not only the West Tigers fan base, but also the team. So what I proposition there is that the West Tigers are bipolar in terms of the Richo meter, bouncing from very poor to very good within 60 seconds sometimes. Just on the Richo meter, how would we rate that performance against South? I think it was a little bit of everything, personally. Like I could make a case for all five positions on the Richo meter.
I kind of think I'd rate it as good. I mean, Souths are a very good team this year, and they're at full strength injury wise. I mean, they had Campbell Graham out, but otherwise, it's a full strength in their key positions. We dominated stats wise everywhere but the scoreboard, and I thought after the first 15 minutes, we had the better of the next 65 minutes. I mean, the next 65 minutes we were up 16-8 for the rest of the game. So I kind of say good, and early season you can get some back and forth. If I take away the injuries, I'd kind of say good, but with that first 10 minutes being horrible. So, yeah.
Yeah, that first 10 minutes, I was having absolute nightmares thinking, what am I doing? Is it seriously only March? Like, how long I wait till September? I had the fingers out trying to work out how many months left. But yeah, the first 10 minutes was diabolical. But what I saw after that was a hell of a lot of resilience, which is what we showed across the first two trial games as well. Even against the Cowboys, we showed resilience before we managed to kick away a little bit.
Yeah.
Although we did fall away a little bit after halftime. However, there was a lot to like about that Rabbitohs game on Saturday night, but we still don't look polished enough for me to be a finals team. I know it's only one game, and I told myself all of today, thinking about the fact that we were going to record tonight, I told myself maybe I just need to ease off a little bit and calm the farm. But I look ahead and I look at who we've lost. Josh, you've already mentioned that starting centers, starting halves gone. We're playing the Warriors big and tough at home. Like, that's scary. And then you look at the few games after that, and I'm getting way ahead now, Joel, but I'm starting to get conniptions. Like I'm panicking already. It's round 3 and I'm already hitting panic stations.
I seem to come up with my brain comes up with a Simpsons reference in every episode of the podcast. Sometimes I share it, sometimes I don't. But this one is, remember, where the one Indian says to the other American Indian, do yourself a favor, don't turn around, because it's not a pretty sight. Well, West Tigers fans, do yourself a favor, don't look at the draw, because the next 5 or 6 weeks are looking very difficult. Dirty Red's word was typical. So many bad signs of the old Tigers. More from the West Tigers podcast forum one-word contributions. LFC Tigers, word was attack. It was toothless. Tigers do resilience. We showed more, and the loss will build more of that resilience. Tigersman, Gray. We couldn't stop him early and couldn't get past him in the last 15 minutes. Nat Mac 78 start, conceding 12 points in 10 minutes hurt us in the end. Mac Tiger chances. We didn't take enough of ours. They took all they got. Mike's word was attack. We lacked that killer punch. Plunder Monkey wasted a good chance to win two in a row. Forwards laid the platform, but attack in good positions was ineffective. And Jedi Tiger's word was bereft in attack. I've also got a couple of posts that I've taken from Facebook that we'll run through shortly from a couple of guys that made some excellent points. Definitely a little bit on the long side to read out, but I think really good summations of where things are at. So we'll share those in a few moments' time. I'm going to ask a question though. Is there, and I know it's really hard because we've been in this situation before. We've seen promising seasons go down the drain, and I'm being really, really optimistic. But is there the potential that having the Dewey injury looks like 2 or 3 weeks for him, Luai for 3 or 4 weeks? Is there the potential that having the injuries now is okay? Like it gives Jock Madden a go, it shakes things up a bit. It is a better time to have injuries than later in the season. Could it be facing some adversity, bringing the boys together? Is there a potential, some sort of potential silver lining, Josh, to this, or is it as bad as it looks?
I mean, I'd rather not have them at all, I think. But if you're going to have them early season, you've still got the opportunity to you've got the opportunity to come together and win those games. And you've got the opportunity to come back as the season goes on. If you lose your players for the last 3 games and you have to win them, well, that puts you in a worse position. But to be missing both halves and both centers, as I said, that is really significant for any team. It isn't just us. If you took Jerome Hughes, Cameron Munster, and the two centers out of the Storm,
Yeah.
it would not look like a great side. So I think it's going to be a hard couple of weeks for us. But look, hopefully we get Latu back and Jock plays well. And that is good experience for them. And we do show that we've got good depth. I mean, we talked coming into this week about having good depth, and I think that's going to have to shine the next couple of weeks. Look, were we going to beat the Warriors next week in New Zealand? Probably not anyway. So maybe that's a loss we're always going to have. Then you've got the Easter Monday game against the Eels. So I hope they get right up for that one. And then hopefully Dewey's back, and then Toa's back, and not far off for Luai and May back. So maybe it's not too bad.
What do you think, Nick? I mean, there's been plenty of teams in the past that have had. Look at Penrith last year. It's hard to compare the two, but
Chalk and cheese.
really,
Sadly.
really,
Yeah.
really poor start to the year, but got it together. I mean, there is that potential.
There's that potential. Penrith, if you're looking at that example, completed quality football team, know how to play their game. Even though they had a really rough start last year, they had enough quality players in their squad that had been there, done it, and just backed themselves to claw their way back into contention and play finals, which was incredible. For us, it worries me that it's happened now because I think we'd be better off with a bit more stability, especially in those playmaking roles early in the season, just to build a platform of a style of football that you want to play. I think losing Luai is massive, not just for the player that he is, but for the person that he is around the squad. He's still going to be there at training, and he's still going to be in there in the sheds yapping at the boys, but on the field, he's just the maestro that conducts the orchestra. It's a massive loss. Even with Dewey, they've been working on combinations across the off season, and now 2 games into our season, they're both out. So I don't know if there's an ideal time, especially for the type of team that we are. Yeah, it'd be great if we had, if this happened towards the end of the season. But if we're in a position, Josh, where we need to win our last 3 games to make finals, then we're just not good enough, are we? Because
Fair.
that's where we were last year. And we want to be better than that. So, look, it does give, Jock a chance. Hopefully it gives Latu a chance soon. Hopefully they show us something that looks like a backbone that Benji's been working on. I'm just worried that that backbone's a little bit frail, and I don't know how strong we're going to be over the coming month or so without our quality playmakers. So it's a really tough road ahead. Be interesting to see how we go.
will it make us or break us? I mean, that's the question that's only
Really,
really asked. You know,
really early in the season. It's a massive challenge. Huge.
the Warriors, they've beaten us 9 straight times. You know, like they've had the wood on us, but
Does that mean we're due?
there's something in the back of my mind that tells me that there could be an ambush on, for want of a better term, and maybe the Warriors will be a little bit underdone, thinking that they're going to turn up and get the points. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Ryan on the sideline posted this in the West Tigers social group, and I just thought it was just really well written and a great contribution. So I'm going to share this. I'm going to take a few bits out. So obviously written in the wake of last night's loss, he says there are a few glaring issues that ultimately cost the Tigers, and it starts with the opening 20 minutes, which were an absolute shocker. The Tigers looked disconnected, particularly out wide. Hamasi Makasini was put in a really tough spot, a 19-year-old in just his third NRL game being asked to defend against Jack Whiten. That's not on the kid, that's on Benji Marshall. Way too big a challenge that early in his career. Right now, Makasini should be on the wing where his role is simplified and he can build confidence. Benji will learn from tonight, but it doesn't make it easier right now. He says Luke Lilly had a night to forget, and one moment summed it up perfectly. He ran away from the play the ball, forcing Jerome Luai to jump in at dummy half. That left Makasini taking a hit up he wasn't prepared for, and it ended in a drop ball. It's a small moment, but it cost us big time. On top of that, Lilly repeatedly left the defensive structure chasing intercepts that were never on, forcing Luai and Makasini to overextend and cover gaps. We spoke on the midweek pod before the game about concerns about that wing and about the inexperience there. And hey, Wayne Bennett, you don't need to be a genius to go, well, let's target the two guys that have played a total of 5 NRL games. So, I guess we're not surprised how that sort of played out, albeit after the first 20 minutes, I thought they accounted for themselves pretty well. I thought Lilly's game, I'm not the world's biggest Lilly fan, but I thought he accounted for himself okay after that. But definitely I agree with Ryan that Makasini should be on the wing, ideally. It's not a luxury we have at the moment. He says the forward pack was dominant and gave the Tigers every chance to win. Royce Hunt is being used perfectly, particularly closing out the first half and starting the second. I'd love to see Bunty Afoa injected at the same time. That's an impact combination that would trouble any side in the comp. Appy was outstanding, creative, sharp, and constantly asking questions. Sione Fainu also impressed with his effort areas, running hard and defending with intent. Samuela Fainu was brilliant as always. Out wide, Sunia Turuva was extremely brave in an unfamiliar role at centre. You could still see he's still adjusting from the wing, but the effort never wavered. Jerome Luai had some great moments with the ball and some to forget off of it, but context matters. A lot of that came down to the disruption around him. Watching it back, you can see him constantly trying to organise and demand shape. Then we get into Buller. He says Buller is a $500,000 to $600,000 player max. He was outjumped by Jai Gray, took a good 30 minutes to warm into the game. 900,000 as marquee money. Right now, he's not even close to that level. There's a lot more there talking about Adam Dewey and a lot of stuff and about the Warriors, but I thought it was an excellent post. Buller, did either of you guys didn't go to the game, did you? You watched it on TV?
No, TV.
On TV, yeah. Like, did you see he was really pumped up before the game? He was screaming, and I thought he's going to have a really good game, and it was sort of
Maybe just got the Dragons contract in the mail,
yeah,
Joel.
he signed that contract maybe. At 500,000 to 600,000, we've had this conversation. It's an ongoing thing until he signs it. If Jai Gray is on 500,000 to 600,000, I think Buller's on about that level, isn't he? Like, I don't know. I still have concerns about his positioning. It's been all over Facebook today about lack of urgency. It's stuff that we've spoken about right from the very beginning. Josh, what's your take on that game?
I thought he played well on Saturday night. You know, he topped the meter count. I thought actually for his first couple of runs, usually he does kind of do that kind of slow kind of takeoff. But I thought for his first few runs, he sprinted from the moment he got the ball, and I thought he was in for a great game. Now, he didn't get many opportunities. He almost busted through Cody Walker. We just didn't. I thought Adam wasn't setting him up on that right-hand side at all. Like, Adam kept going back inside all night. And I think the one or two times we did go down there, it looked like there was going to be opportunities. I also think, though, that if Jareem Buller was signed up for the next 4 years, all the people criticizing him would be talking about the great things for him. But because he's unsigned or possibly unsigned, all of a sudden he's the most hated guy on the internet from a Tigers perspective. And I
Mm.
think that's what happens with every club. A player who's thinking about leaving or fans think is thinking about leaving is all of a sudden playing a lot worse than they were when they were signing contracts. So, yeah, look, I mean, Jai Gray had a great game last night, but I thought Buller played well. I think if we see where our issues were last night, it was kind of that side with Makasini and Lally, and that's expected because they're 19 and they're played like 7 games between them. I thought the halves, just especially Adam, probably weren't setting up the plays and the structure, and that's kind of where it is. And when you're fullback, if your halves aren't setting up the structure of the sides, there's only so much you can do, especially when you're a fullback. It kind of comes into that attacking line. But yeah, I thought he was solid. I don't think that's where our problem was last night.
The trouble is that like solid is not 900,000. $900,000 is a guy that wins you games, that swings games, and I'm just not seeing it consistently. I'm not saying that I'm not a fan of Buller, but what I'm saying is if we're going to spend that much money, you want someone that takes a game by the scruff of the neck and makes a difference. A couple of those guys in that South team were able to do that. Nick.
One thing I'll say is when Latrell moved to fullback briefly during the game on Saturday night, I was a lot more worried and concerned about what he was going to do with the ball in hand than excited about what Buller might be doing at the back for us.
Mm.
But like Josh was kind of alluding to, I think a lot of Buller's, I guess, restrictions on the game in terms of what he did might be what you were saying, Josh, is like what he was being fed and the opportunities he wasn't given. Like, I don't think we played to Buller's strengths. I don't think we've done that for a couple of weeks, even against the Cowboys. I think we've seen better from Buller last season than what we've seen in the first couple of games this year. He does look lazy because that's his natural style. He's just a loping athlete. He actually moves very quickly. He just doesn't look like he's putting in a lot of effort. One thing I will defend him on, though, is that post you read out, Joel, and I saw something on the West Tigers Facebook page too. Someone highlighted that he got outleapt by Jai Gray, and he did. However, Jai Gray was running towards the ball to catch a high bomb, which he was trying to defend in his line. Buller was doing the classic running in the same direction as the ball that's coming over his shoulder, a lot harder to time, and I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he didn't quite time it right. I'm sure that if he wanted to, Dream Buller would be able to get up a lot higher than Jai Gray. So I'll just back him a little bit there. Maybe that was just an example that he didn't quite get right. But I also think that we missed opportunities. Just thinking about Jai Gray, because we spoke about the other night, Josh, about targeting him and using Sam Weller and also KPP on the other side, and potentially putting up kicks to those either side of the post and targeting Gray because he's a small player. But I think we messed up that as well. But at the same time, full credit to Jai Gray. He plays a lot like Brett Hodgson. Doesn't care about his height and his size. He just plays above his weight, and he's a great little player.
On that performance, he's worth about 900,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the way he stopped Skelton in his tracks
Yeah.
near the end of the game
Yeah.
was
Huge.
unbelievable. When Skelton had that momentum, running from about 20 out diagonally across, I thought he's in. Like, no one's going to stop him. He ran straight at the smallest player on the field, who dropped him in his tracks. Incredible tackle, but yeah,
I mean, it was absolutely the right play too. Like if you're Skelton and you're 120 kilos and you've got a big run up, charge at Jai Gray like a
Mm.
meter out from the post. I think everyone, even South fans, expected that Skelton probably scores there. It was
Yeah.
it was a fantastic tackle.
It was a couple of those little moments that proved the difference, wasn't it? Yeah, just those individual moments. Brad Hancock on the West Tigers Will Never Die group. So what did we actually learn about the West Tigers this weekend? The good bits: in patches, we controlled the game, which hasn't always been the case the past couple of years, so that's worth calling out. Pole looks much better after his injury. The forwards in general laid a decent platform, and defensively, there were periods where we held firm. I thought our ruck defence, just taking away from Brad here, I thought our ruck defence, which had me worried in that Cowboys game, was really good. The Fainu brothers, again, were outstanding. Energy, intent, and they look like they want the moment. That stands out. Royce Hunt gave us exactly what we need from him. Short, sharp impact, 20 minutes, bent the line, creates a bit of chaos. The bad bits: Our attack. Honestly, what is it? We get inside the 20 and it's like everyone is waiting for someone else to come up with something. No structure, no patience, no real plan. 7 repeat sets, we never looked once like scoring, not even close. That's the concern. It's not new. It's the same issue we've had for 2 seasons now. When the game slows down and requires composure and shape, we fall into the same pattern. Selection wise, there are some questions. Two, Skelton is error prone and it hurts us. I was really disappointed in Skelton's game compared to the
Yep.
Cowboys game, like different
Oh,
player.
geez. Yeah.
If May is fit, he doesn't make the side. Not convinced on Taruva in the centres. It doesn't feel right. Stafford coming back will help, but he brings risk as well. You're swapping one problem for another. Herbert has to be in the conversation. At least he offers something different. The ugly bits, this is a bit of a rehash of what we've just discussed, but Buller, this is the one people don't really want to say. Is he a $900,000 fullback? He has moments, but they are moments. In between, he drifts. Positioning isn't great, involvement isn't consistent, and he doesn't feel like he's controlling games. If you're paying marquee money, you want someone who owns the game. Right now, he feels like he's just part of it. Bench and game management. This felt very Tigers. Appy needed a break, fair enough. But what is the point of having Jock there if you don't trust him to come on and do a job? Hope is bang on average. I think most of us would agree with that. Although he was trying to be creative, but yeah, it's just not him. The bigger picture, it's the frustrating part. Wayne Bennett wins and says his side was average and they have work to do. We lose a game we had control of and it feels a bit too nice. We had them on the rack and didn't know what to do next. That's not effort, that's standards. Overall, I know it's only round 3, but the signs are familiar. With the halves out and May likely gone for a while, this is where you either build something or fall back into old habits. Right now, it feels like we're drifting back to type, and that is what worries me most. Thank you, Brad. Another good one. Benji says we played the way we want to play, and I can understand the logic of that statement to a degree, but it's that 20-meter attack is the issue that we keep coming back to because it's really, I mean, aside from the horrific start, which was mostly put down to also South just hitting the go button and blowing us off the park, it's that red zone attack. So let's turn our attention to what we're going to do this week and the next few weeks without Dewey and Luai. Nick, how do you see that playing out? Who do you see? I mean, Madden is probably a walk-up start for one of those positions, but how do you see it playing out?
Jock has to come in. I'm praying for Latu. I said that earlier.
I don't
If
think Latu is going to go straight into first grade, but
Well, we might be in a point where we need him to come straight back in the first grade, but might not have a choice. Scott,
mm,
who else are you going to put in? And I have seen on Facebook some people saying put Appy at
yeah,
7. No, I don't want to do that. Like it's been said before, you don't weaken a position to strengthen another because Appy played a bit of 7 or in the halves when Jerome came off, and
mm,
then AD, of course, came off as well. But Appy tries, but he offers a lot more when he's playing at 9 than he does in the halves.
yeah,
And I would rather have a dangerous Appy at 9 than put Appy in the halves trying to be creative and then have Tristan Hope distributing from hooker. So for me, I would leave Appy exactly where he is, and I'd bring Madden in. Of course, what you've said, it'd be straight into the 7, and then I'd work out the 6. If it's not Latu, I don't know what the options are. Josh, hit me up
mm,
with a name.
Yeah, I'd have Madden at 7, obviously, but I think I'd have Javon Andrews at 6. That's what we
Okay.
played in the trials. Latu's been out for months, hasn't played a game, and historically hasn't been able to make 80 minutes in. I'm not sure he's ever played a full 80-minute game. Like he's had great flashes or come off the bench or been injured when he has started.
mm,
Bringing him back and without Dewey or Luai and saying fly to New Zealand, put 80 minutes in against a big Warriors side, I just feel like that's asking too much. Javon Andrews played in the trials. He played well again on the weekend for Wes. Um, I think that's the call for me is you go, you know what, we give him a try. The worst that can happen, we probably expect to lose this game anyway, but you get some football and he's a big body. Like it's not like he's a small, he's small. He's a big body. He can run hard. He can tackle okay. And it's a good opportunity for a guy we see as a future first grader. So roll the dice and put Javon Andrews in at 6.
mm. It's going to be an interesting one because it's going to be like, are we going to get conservative Benji or are we going to get roll the dice Benji, because conservative Benji is this half of him is going just put Appy in seven and Madden at
Mm.
six, and the other half of him's like Andrews is a talent. Do we throw him in? Going to be really interesting.
To me, I think the reality is no one expects us to win that game in New
Mm.
Zealand. So if you go the conservative route and lose,
What's the
everyone's
point?
like, you lost. But yeah, but who cares? If you have a crack and you lose, everyone's going to go, fair enough, you were missing your halves and your centers, but at least you've gone out there and tried a kid out and given him a crack. I mean, he is what I think Andrews is 18 or 19.
19,
Galvin
I
had
think.
played,
Yeah.
yeah, 19. Galvin had played a season of first grade. Um, and Andrews is a bigger body. So
Mm.
get him out there. Everyone expects us to lose anyway. Give him a crack.
I can't really think of any other alternatives. Like normally, you've got someone that you could kind of go, we could pick them at 5'8", someone who plays back row or something like that. But I can't, I'm bereft of ideas at the moment when it comes to who else we could possibly put there. Personally, I think you'll probably pick Appy, and maybe Andrews on the bench. That would probably wouldn't surprise me. And then you can do a rotation at some point and to take the heat off Andrews being selected in first grade. That if Appy's in the seven, it wouldn't be a great surprise for me. Not to say that he's going to play 80 minutes at halfback, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's the way it plays out.
I'd
Nick,
rather see. Sorry, Josh. I'd rather see Terrell or Alex Twal go to go at seven than Appy, to be honest. I
Alex
think they
Safer.
fancied him. No, Alex Twal and yeah, and Terrell May. Like I think they fancied themselves as playmakers. Obviously this Benji ball that the commentators keep talking
Mm.
about is offloads, and the offloads are fantastic. And Twally has added that to his repertoire, and he's looking good doing it. But no, in all seriousness, please leave Appy at nine. I do not want to weaken that. I don't want to have Tristan Hope directing the team around for 80 minutes or potentially 80 minutes.
Mm.
Let one of the best hookers in the game over the
Oh
last
yeah, I agree.
years do it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
I'm just second guessing Benji. I'm just trying to work
yeah,
out where he's.
I'm yelling out to Benji. Benji, please. I know you're listening,
Yeah,
Benji. He loves the podcast,
he
but
does. He listens when he plays golf.
he
Yep,
told me at the golf day
yep.
when I played with Uppy the other day, by the way.
Did
But
you, Nick? Oh
yeah, I
my
did.
God.
Yeah, yeah. We'll talk about that later. But
Yeah, look, it's going to be really interesting. If I was Benji Marshall, I'm picking Madden and Andrews, and I'm saying, here's the keys, boys, go nuts. Yeah, work out your combinations, work on it. It's your team. Take it. What happens over the next 3 or 4 weeks, but let's have a crack. I don't know if that's the way it's going to work out, but Josh.
The other thing is, I imagine Madden and Andrews were training in that second side against the main side together for
Mm,
the whole of the off season.
yeah,
Latu's been out injured. Luai and Dewey were obviously training together in the first team. So I'm imagining in all the opposed sessions it was Madden and Andrews together because, as you said, I'm not sure who else it could be. So hopefully they've built up a good combination. It's almost advantageous to have the two of them playing together as opposed to bring in one. So
yeah.
yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, exactly. I want to talk about the forwards in a minute because there's a few things that I want to particularly mention. But when we talk about this Warriors game and we talk about that back line, are you picking a Patrick Herbert? Are we making any changes there? I mean, I don't know. All of a sudden, our depth has just got shot to pieces. I don't know what we're going to do. But as I said earlier, Lay Lily started really poorly, made that one mistake, but I thought he was pretty okay after that. Nick, are you putting a Herbert in, giving him his debut with us? I don't know what else we can do.
I know it's hard when we lose four starters because we've spoken about depth, especially in specific positions, and outside backs is one of them where it starts to get a little bit scratchy. I'm not sure what the best option is, but I think Josh, you said it before that Taruva was playing in the centres, and I think his best position is on the wing too. So I'd be looking to get along the lines of that conversation I was just talking about. Uppy playing at nine. I'd be looking to play your best players in their best positions first, and then try and figure it out.
Mm.
Um, yeah, who you bring in to plug holes for those people that we've lost, I'm not sure. And Josh, you'd have a better idea than I would. But I mean, Herbert, I've seen it, bits of him in the trials. He was all right. So yes, he's been out for a while. I know he's stinging for a go, and he's looking very fit.
Mm.
So
He's got
he
a
could
bit of
probably do a
experience
job.
too.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
does have experience. Yeah.
Yeah, he's played 80 first grade games and he is from New Zealand, so it'd be very, very excited to play back over there. My only concern is more that we've gone 2 games now with these four in the back line together. We're going to have to go another few weeks before we get anyone else back. If you're already changing the halves, do you also want to change, because it would mean Taruva moves out to the wing, Skelton moves over to the other side, and then you've got different centres. So you've got completely new combinations on both sides of the field. That's probably my concern with it. I think if we'd had Herbert to start with, I think Herbert's probably the better option in the centres, but moving Lally out means that you move everyone around and circle them all around, which I think that's a concern. So
Hey, Josh, did you know that Patrick Herbert is from Whakatane?
I heard that this
All
week in his
right.
interview. I mean,
Yes.
that's why Benji signed him. I think we can all be sure. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
They're probably cousins.
it could be.
Alex Twal. Is Alex Twal the most improved football player that that we've ever had?
Yeah.
Like he is just he was great last year, but the way he started this year, he's a different player. He was on the express to Plotterville a couple of years ago, and he is now channeling his inner Isaiah Yeo at a phenomenal rate. I thought he was fantastic again. I haven't seen many raps for him, but I thought his game against South was excellent.
You
Nick,
know what I'm going to predict for Alex Twal? I'm going to say he's going to be in the Origin camp this year.
wow,
Not as a starting player, but remember last year when AD got pulled into the
mm,
camp as a fill-in, to help out with training, whatever. I reckon Twally might end up in that same boat.
yeah,
It wouldn't surprise me. He's at 30 years old. I'm pretty sure he's 30.
mm.
Is he 30? Am I putting
He's late 20s at least, yeah.
Yeah, so he is still improving and adding to his game, which is incredible at that age, at that end of his career. He is adding boats to his repertoire. I'm very impressed with what I'm seeing with Twally. Loving it.
I thought he was clearly our best player on Saturday night. He was great last week as well, as we talked about, and I thought his 62 minutes straight as well. But we talked earlier about speed off the mark. Alex Twal look like
Mm.
actually showed speed off the mark. I don't know where that's come from, but he was showing speed off the mark. He's passing the ball. He made 150 meters. He still makes his 37 tackles without a miss. He was, yeah, to me, like when I was thinking about my 3-2-1, he was three without even a consideration. So it's yeah, loving it,
Yeah,
loving Alex Twal.
He's
yeah,
30 in July as well, Twally.
yeah, yeah. I think he
Hitting his
debuted
peak.
for us 2017, I think it was. He is our longest serving player as well.
Should make a
Mm.
gold statue of him when he retires, put outside Leichhardt and Campbelltown, two of
Well,
them.
that northern stand at Leichhardt, I was looking for a name. It could be the Alex Twal stand,
Oh,
and it could just have like Lebanese food underneath it. You could
Love
get,
it.
oh, this is fantastic. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm psyched.
When I think of Alex Twal, I think of fitness because he is a super fit guy. And I wanted to make the point as well that I thought our fitness, as compared to last year, kept us in that game. I think that as much as we are feeling pessimistic, I think that there are some aspects of this team that are different to last year. And we aren't that far off that 50-50 win rate, even after that South loss. I don't think it's as dire as some people are saying. I know it's a massive thing losing your halves, but fitness keeps you in games. Nick, do you think we are? Look at 12. Sorry, not at Hunt. Much fitter, and I think that's keeping us more competitive.
100%. One of my mates actually messaged me during the game last night, and he said Royce Hunt has really improved. And I said you'll probably find that's because he's stripped a whole bunch of weight and he's got a lot fitter.
Yeah.
And that's exactly right. The fitter you are and the better shape you're in, not only are you going to play more minutes, but you're going to play better minutes and more quality minutes, and you're going to be thinking clearer, and you're going to be just playing a better overall game of rugby league. So I think a lot of them are in that boat, and everyone talks about it during the off season and the preseason that they've trained hard and trained harder than the previous year and all that sort of jargon. But you can see it, and you look at Royce Hunt, and we spoke about it, I think, on the last pod that he'd lost about, I don't know, I think it was 5 or 6 or 7 kilos before he even started preseason training. So that
Mm.
was all on his own and all off the back of the words that he clearly got from Benji and the coaching staff at the end of last year. So. Yeah, it's going to help us across the entirety of the year, and obviously, the more games they play, the more match fit they'll get, and hopefully, that's enough to keep us in contention, like you're saying, Joel, because we need to be in contention every single week. Because I don't think there's going to be many cheap wins for us. We're just not that type of
Mm.
team yet, anyway. Um, But yeah, I mean, even great examples, Warriors this week. We've just got to find a way to stay in the fight, for as long as possible because you never know what'll happen.
I agree. I feel like our forwards were well and truly better than South's forwards
Yeah.
last night. Like, and that's, I felt the starters and the bench forwards. Funnily enough, I think Terrell May was probably our worst middle, and he was really good. But it's the first time I think we've ever thought about him being our worst middle. But I thought the guys off the bench were amazing. Alex Twal, as we've talked about, and I thought Fanua Pole ran really hard when in both his first and second stints. But as you said, Joel, they're fitter, and I think our wingers, Skelton and Taruva both ran hard. They're looking good. If we were fully fit going into next week, I'd be still feeling really confident about the next few weeks and about the season. Like if
Mm.
we were, you know, everyone was there, I'd be like, we can absolutely beat the Warriors next week off the back of last night. It's really only the injuries concerning. I said we all look fitter across the board. Like the whole team looked fitter. It was just those injuries at the end that kind of crawled us when we look at going forward, plus the ones we'd already had. But I thought our forwards and our wings kind of getting down the field, the possession, the kind of field position, we were dominant. We just couldn't do enough with it at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, lots of good signs, I think, if you ignore the kind of ups and downs the next couple of weeks with injuries.
The funny thing is, like, we talk about Benji Ball and we talk about West Tigers having a playing style. And the ironic thing is that we do struggle sometimes with the finesse and the flash to finish off those moments as well. Like that's where it's kind of frustrating. Very interesting team to watch. A very interesting team to study the way that they play the game compared to other teams. And I think what we need to do as West Tigers fans is keep everything crossed that over the next 4 weeks we win two of those games. If we don't, if we don't win any of them, it's season over. But if we can win two, potentially, that I think we're okay. So ask for that for your birthday present, for your Christmas present, make a wish. 2 wins over the next 4 weeks. Nick's looking at the computer. He's looking at the drawer. He's going to say to me, Joel, where are we going to get these wins?
I have the next 4 weeks of the draw lined up on my second screen. I was just laughing, Joel, because we are such a dire bunch of supporters. Last week I was telling all my mates I'm buying grand final tickets. We smashed the
Yeah.
Cowboys. We're home. We've
You
not
should have
only
been a
made
Parramatta
finals,
fan, Nick.
we're making a massive impact. Yeah. And then we lose to the Rabbitohs, and I'm just distraught. But it's like you just said, if we don't win two of the next four, the season's gone. I feel the same way. It's so sad to think that way because we
Mm.
spoke about it at the beginning of the pod, the way Penrith started out
Yeah.
last year. But like I said, we're not Penrith. I wish we were, um, but we're not. We have to build to that, and we it's so hard talking about building and where you want to get to when you've been at the bottom for so long. It's
Mm.
just so difficult, as we all know. I pray that we can find a few wins in the next 5, 6 weeks, especially without Romy, without AD. It's really going to test the whole bunch. I'm sure they're going to knuckle down. And maybe it's good that we're going to come out as extreme underdogs
Yeah.
against the Warriors. Maybe that'll work in our favor. I worry that the Warriors are going to go back home and be all pumped up because they're 3 from 3 and they're on top of the world.
Mm.
That worries me. And they've got, effectively an easy prey sitting in front of them on a plate. Maybe they think they can towel up the Tigers and put some points on us, but maybe it won't go that way.
Well, to be fair, I watched the Warriors game and I was very impressed. They're playing Newcastle, and Newcastle was obviously missing some of their best players and lacked a lot of polish themselves. But the Warriors' strength is James Fisher Harris and Jackson Ford up front. So if we can match them there,
Yep.
Tanner Boyd's a good player, but he doesn't strike a huge amount of fear in me. So, the Warriors are going to be like $4. So, we're about $4, I should say, and the Warriors are going to be really short-priced favourites. So, this is the type of game where, in the past, sometimes West Tigers have come out and done a job. I would also like to give Adam Dewey a rap for his goal kicking.
Yeah.
Very,
Well,
very become very reliable. And Jock Madden, touch wood, good kicker as well. He'll fill that role, thankfully.
just on goal kicking, I actually went out to Concord on Friday morning to get a jersey from the merchandise store, and it just happened to be around the same time as the captain's run. So I went out and sat in the
Yep.
stand and watched the captain's run. And speaking about goal kicking, down the northern end of the field at Concord, Dewey was practicing his kicking and looking extremely solid. At the other end, you had a whole bunch of guys,
Yeah.
ranging from Patrick Herbert, who looked pretty decent technique. He wasn't kicking too many, but he was kicking a few. I was really surprised. Royce Hunt
Mm,
was taking shots. He kicked one from about 40 out and about maybe 10 in from the sideline, straight between the posts.
yeah,
But he
yeah.
was taking his time. His technique was very simple, but obviously very effective. But very impressed with Royce. I don't know if that's been in his repertoire for a while, but he's clearly kept that in the back pocket. So we might have a backup option there.
I do love a goal kicking prop. I still
Oh,
remember the
yeah.
Dogs had one when I was growing up. Gavin Hill, and
Yeah,
he was like 120
the
kilos.
Kiwi.
He used to
Mm,
slot them from everywhere, and I just loved that. I love
mm.
a goal kicking prop.
I don't think we've ever had a goal kicking forward. I can't think of a forward kicking a goal for
For
West
West
Tigers.
Tigers.
Mm.
Yeah.
Someone will know. Yachty will know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, boys. Thank you very much. We'll reconvene for episode number 450. Don't forget to join us on the West Tigers podcast forum. There's plenty to talk about there. And subscribe if you like watching it on YouTube, because that also helps. And you just click a button. It's pretty easy. Thank you, boys. Back for 450 Wednesday night.
Thanks,
Thanks, Joel.
guys.
Thanks, Nick.